Your phone buzzes with another late-night email, and that familiar knot tightens in your stomach. We all face these moments, the tests life throws at us without warning. 2,000 years ago, a powerful philosophy was developed not in quiet libraries, but in the chaotic Roman Empire, specifically to handle moments exactly like this. It is called Stoicism. This is not about being emotionless. It is a practical toolkit of 25 mental and emotional powers that can make you virtually immune to life's inevitable challenges. By the end of this, you will possess a complete framework to navigate any difficulty with profound calm and clarity. We will uncover how a simple shift in perception can disarm fear, and why deliberately seeking discomfort is the key to unshakable strength. Which of your current challenges would you most want to face with absolute composure? That late-night email is not the problem, your reaction to it is. This is the very first and perhaps most profound Stoic power, the power of perception. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius, who ruled an empire in constant turmoil, wrote these simple but life-changing words. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Stoics call this the discipline of assent. It is the practice of inserting a single, powerful question between an event and your emotional reaction. Is this within my control? The event itself, the email, the traffic jam, the critical comment, is just a thing that happened. It is neutral. The suffering, the anxiety, the anger that comes next is not from the event. It is born from the judgment you layer on top of it. You judge the email as a personal attack. You judge the traffic as a massive inconvenience that ruins your day. You are not a passive victim of circumstance. You are an active interpreter of it. Think of a rainy day. One person sees it as a miserable, gloomy affair that cancels their plans. Another sees it as a perfect opportunity to stay in, read a book, and enjoy the sound on the roof. The rain did not change. The only thing that changed was the perception of it. This is your innate ability to reframe any situation. When a challenge arises, you can train yourself to see it not as a catastrophe, but as a test of your character. That difficult person is not a tormentor. They are your training partner in patience. That financial setback is not a disaster, it is a lesson in resourcefulness. By shifting your perception, you drain the event of its emotional power over you. The event remains, but your suffering does not have to. What if you could meet every single one of life's tests with this quiet, unshakable understanding? That single question, is this within my control, leads directly to the second Stoic power, the power of acceptance. Once you have clearly identified what lies outside your command, the only rational choice is to embrace it without resistance. This is not a passive surrender or a sign of weakness. It is an active, courageous choice to stop fighting reality. You have likely heard a version of the Serenity Prayer, which asks for the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. This idea is pure, ancient Stoicism. The Stoics understood that our greatest suffering comes from our refusal to accept the world as it is. We want the traffic to disappear. We want the difficult person to be kind. We want the past to be different, but fighting against these unchangeable facts is like trying to push the ocean back with your bare hands. It is exhausting, futile, and leaves you defeated. Acceptance is the moment you stop pushing. It is the mental sigh that says, this is the situation. It is not good, it is not bad, it simply is. Now, what can I do within it? Think of a sudden downpour that soaks you to the bone. You can stand there, shaking your fist at the sky, cursing your luck, and making yourself miserable. Or you can accept that you are now wet. The rain has already fallen. That part is over. Your focus can then shift to what you control, finding shelter, drying off, or even deciding to laugh and splash in the puddles. The event is the same. Your misery is optional. The Roman philosopher Epictetus, who was born a slave, put it bluntly, Do not seek for things to happen as you wish, but wish for things to happen as they do, and your life will go smoothly. He is not telling you to wish for hardship. He is revealing the secret to peace. By accepting events as they occur, you align your will with the flow of reality itself. You stop wasting energy on what might have been and start investing it in what can be. This creates an incredible mental freedom. The chains of disappointment and resentment simply fall away. You meet reality on its own terms, not on the broken terms of your expectations. How much lighter would you feel if you simply stopped arguing with what is already true? This acceptance of reality is the very ground from which true emotional regulation grows. Stoics never asked you to eliminate feelings. They saw emotions not as random bolts of lightning, but as the direct consequences of our judgments. A sudden surge of anger is not something that just happens to you. It is your mind's powerful, immediate verdict that you have been wronged. That tight knot of anxiety is your judgment that something terrible is about to occur. The power lies in learning to question that verdict before you are swept away by it. Think of your mind as a courtroom. An event occurs, the prosecution, your initial reaction, immediately stands up and shouts its case, declaring this is a disaster, an outrage. Emotional hijacking is when you let that prosecution win without a trial. You immediately feel the anger, the panic, the despair. Stoic regulation is about being the judge. You gavel for order. You turn to the prosecution and ask, what is your evidence? Is this truly a catastrophe or merely an inconvenience? Is this person truly evil, or are they simply acting out of their own ignorance or pain? By inserting this pause, this moment of examination, you take back control. One powerful technique the Stoics used for this is called the view from above. When you are consumed by a stressful situation, close your eyes for just a moment. Pull your perspective up and out of your own head. See yourself in the room, then see your house on the street, your city from the sky, the planet spinning in the vastness of space. From this cosmic vantage point, how significant is this one email, this one critical comment, this single traffic jam? This is not meant to diminish your problems, but to provide a profound sense of perspective. Your immediate reaction is like looking at the world through a microscope, where every tiny detail appears enormous and threatening. The view from above pulls you back to a wider lens, reminding you that this moment is just one small part of a much larger, ongoing story. Another practice is to premeditate on potential challenges each morning. The Roman philosopher Seneca would begin his day by calmly considering what difficulties might arise. A rude person might offend him, a project might fail, he might feel unwell. By anticipating these possibilities, he was not being pessimistic. He was inoculating himself against shock and emotional turmoil. When the event then happened, his inner response was not, "Oh no, this is terrible." It was, "Ah, there it is, the thing I prepared for, this is the training." It is the daily, quiet work of examining your judgments and broadening your perspective, so that when a real test comes, you are not hijacked. You remain the calm, centered judge in the courtroom of your own mind. How many of your past reactions would have been different if you had simply granted yourself that one moment of perspective? That calm, centered judge in your mind does not appear by magic. It is forged through deliberate practice, by willingly stepping into the very discomfort you fear. This is the fourth Stoic power, the power of voluntary discomfort. The Stoics were not masochists, they were pragmatists who understood a fundamental truth, that comfort is a cage. When you live a life of constant ease, the smallest inconvenience feels like a crisis. Your tolerance for hardship shrinks and your peace becomes fragile, dependent on everything going perfectly. To break this dependency, you must voluntarily break your own comfort. The Roman philosopher Seneca, one of the wealthiest men in the empire, would regularly practice poverty. He would set aside a few days each month to wear his oldest clothes, eat only the plainest bread, and sleep on a hard floor. He was not punishing himself, he was asking himself a single, powerful question. Is this what I used to dread? By intentionally experiencing minor hardship, he was inoculating himself against the fear of it. He was proving to his own psyche that he could endure these conditions and still be perfectly fine. His peace was no longer tied to his silk sheets or his lavish meals. It became internal, unassailable. Think of it like building a firebreak in a forest. You intentionally burn a small, controlled section to create a barrier, so when a real wildfire comes, it has nothing left to consume. Voluntary discomfort is your mental firebreak. You are burning away your fear, your dependency, your fragility in small, safe doses. This practice takes countless forms. It could be taking a cold shower instead of a warm one, not to prove your toughness, but to practice embracing a sensation you do not like with equanimity. It could be skipping a meal and sitting with the feeling of hunger, learning that the gnawing in your stomach is not an emergency. It could be walking instead of driving, or choosing to have a difficult conversation you have been avoiding. Each time you do this, you are sending a deep, subconscious message to yourself. I am stronger than my circumstances. My well-being is not dictated by external conditions. The goal is not to live a life of perpetual hardship. The goal is to make yourself immune to the whims of fortune. When a real hardship comes, a sudden financial loss, a personal rejection, an unexpected illness, you will not be starting from zero. Your resilience muscle will already be strong. You will have already faced smaller versions of your fears and discovered your own capacity to endure. You will meet the crisis not with panic, but with the quiet confidence of someone who has trained for this very moment. How much of your daily anxiety is simply a fear of discomfort, and what would change if you began to greet that discomfort as an old friend, a trusted trainer? This practice of seeking discomfort leads to one of the most counterintuitive yet transformative Stoic powers, the power of negative visualization. While it may sound like pessimism, this ancient technique, known as premeditatio malorum, is actually a profound exercise in mental freedom. It is the deliberate practice of imagining the loss of the things and people you hold most dear. The Stoics were not trying to scare themselves. They were performing a surgical strike on two of the greatest sources of human suffering, fear of the future and taking the present for granted. By willingly visiting the worst-case scenario in your mind, you accomplish something remarkable. You rob the future of its power to shock you. Imagine for a moment vividly picturing the loss of your job. Feel the initial sting of the news, the uncertainty, the blow to your pride, then follow the thread. What would you do next? You would update your resume. You would reach out to your network. You would find a way to manage your finances. You would discover a resilience you did not know you had. The event itself is still difficult, but the paralyzing terror is gone because you have already walked that path in your mind. You have already faced the monster in a controlled environment and seen that you can survive it. This mental rehearsal transforms the unknown into the familiar. But this practice has a second, equally beautiful purpose. It ignites a deep, heartfelt gratitude for what you have right now. After mentally walking through a world without your health, you open your eyes and feel a surge of appreciation for the simple ability to breathe easily and move without pain. After imagining a life without your partner, you hang up the phone and feel a wave of love, realizing that every ordinary conversation is a gift. The Stoic philosopher Seneca put it perfectly. He who is not satisfied with a little is satisfied with nothing. Negative visualization is the tool that makes you satisfied with a little, by reminding you that everything you have is on loan from fortune. It is not yours to keep forever. This realization does not create sadness, it creates a fierce, joyful presence. You stop postponing your happiness until you get the next promotion or buy the next new thing. You find it in the cup of coffee in your hand, the sound of a loved one's laughter, the simple safety of your home. You learn to love the things you have while you have them, precisely because you have fully accepted that one day you will not. This is not morbid, it is the key to a life free from regret. So the next time you find yourself anxious about a potential loss, do not look away, lean into it. Ask yourself what is the very worst that could happen, and then see yourself enduring it, adapting, and finding a way forward. When you do this, you are not inviting disaster. You are building an inner citadel so strong that no external event, no matter how devastating, can truly shatter your peace. This inner citadel of peace is built on a single, unshakable foundation, the clear distinction between what is yours to command and what is not. This is the Stoic dichotomy of control, and it is the sixth power, the power of focus. Your opinions, your desires, your judgments, your actions, these are your domain. They are your inner citadel, and they are the only things in this entire world that you have absolute, direct authority over. Everything else, from the weather and the economy to the actions and opinions of other people, exists outside your walls. It is externals. The source of nearly all our frustration and anxiety is the futile attempt to command this outer territory, to control the uncontrollable. We try to manage other people's feelings. We rage against global events. We desperately hope that the stock market will rise or that it will not rain on our picnic. And in doing so, we hand over the keys to our own peace, making it a hostage to fortune. True power, the Stoics discovered, comes from the radical decision to focus all your energy exclusively on your inner kingdom. Your only job is to manage your own thoughts with wisdom, your desires with discipline, and your actions with virtue. The results of those actions, however, are not yours to command. You can prepare for a job interview with diligence and present yourself with integrity, but you cannot control whether the hiring manager likes you. You can speak to a loved one with kindness and honesty, but you cannot control whether they listen. You can plant a seed in fertile soil and water it faithfully, but you cannot command the sun to shine or the rain to fall. The Stoic focuses on the planting and the watering, their own noble effort. They do not waste a single ounce of energy begging for a specific outcome from the sky. This is not a recipe for inaction. It is a recipe for supremely effective action because your energy is no longer diluted. It is a laser beam focused on the one area where you can always make a difference yourself. Think of a sailor. A foolish sailor exhausts himself by shouting at the wind, demanding it change direction. A wise sailor accepts the wind as it is and focuses all his skill on adjusting the sails. Both sailors face the same wind. One ends the journey frustrated and drained. The other arrives with his strength intact, having used the very same conditions to his advantage. When you stop trying to control the wind and start mastering your own sails, you become unstoppable. Your peace is no longer conditional on everything going your way. Your effectiveness soars because you are no longer fighting reality. You are working with it, navigating the world as it is, not as you wish it to be. What external wind are you currently shouting at, and what would happen if you simply turned your attention to your own sails? Mastering your own sails requires your full attention to be right here, right now. This is the seventh Stoic power, the power of present moment awareness. The past is a ghost, a story you can no longer change. The future is a phantom, a guest that may never arrive. The only thing that is real, the only place where you can actually live and act, is this single, fleeting moment. The Stoics saw anxiety as a tax we pay on a future we cannot predict, and regret as a prison we build from a past we cannot alter. Both rob you of the only time you ever truly possess. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself to confine yourself to the present. He was not advocating for a life without planning. He was warning against the mental exile of living anywhere but where you actually are. When you are stuck in traffic, fuming about the meeting you might be late for, you are not in your car. You are in a painful, imagined future. Your body is tense, your mind is racing, but you are accomplishing nothing to change your situation. You are simply draining your energy before you even arrive. Now bring your focus back to the present. You are sitting in a seat, the air is a certain temperature, you can hear the sound of the engine. This is the reality. From this place of calm awareness, you can now take a useful action, perhaps sending a quick text to say you are delayed. The event is the same, but your experience of it is transformed. You have moved from being a victim of your thoughts to being the master of your current reality. This practice turns ordinary life into a series of small, manageable tasks instead of one overwhelming catastrophe. You are not facing a mountain of work, you are simply writing one email. You are not dealing with a difficult lifelong relationship, you are simply navigating a single conversation. By anchoring yourself in the now, you break life down into steps you can actually handle. Your effectiveness soars because your mind is not scattered across time. It is fully concentrated on the task at hand. Your peace deepens because you are no longer borrowing trouble from tomorrow or carrying ghosts from yesterday. The weight of time itself lifts from your shoulders. How many of the problems you worry about actually exist outside the theater of your own mind? This unwavering focus on the present moment is not passive. It is the launchpad for your next great power, the power of purposeful action. The Stoics believed that the highest good, the very purpose of life, was to live with virtue. This word, virtue, can sound ancient and abstract, but for them it was intensely practical. It meant acting with wisdom, courage, justice, and self-control in every single thing you do. The profound shift happens when you stop acting for a specific result and start acting simply because it is the right thing to do. Your purpose is no longer tied to the success or failure of the endeavor, but to the integrity of your own effort. Think of a doctor treating a patient in a desperate situation. A doctor attached to the outcome will be devastated if the patient dies, their sense of purpose shattered by a result they could not fully control. But a Stoic doctor focuses solely on the purposeful action itself, bringing all their skill, knowledge, and compassion to bear in that moment. They do everything within their power because that is their duty, because it is right. If the patient recovers, that is a preferred outcome. If the patient passes, the doctor can still rest in the knowledge that they acted with virtue. Their purpose was fulfilled not in the result, but in the quality of their effort. This is the ultimate shield against the need for external validation. You no longer need the promotion, the praise, or the perfect outcome to feel that your actions were meaningful. The meaning is built into the action itself. When you speak with honesty, you have already succeeded regardless of how the other person reacts. When you work with diligence, you have already honored your purpose, whether the project is a smash hit or a quiet failure. This creates a resilience that is almost unbreakable. Criticism, rejection, and failure lose their power to define you. They become mere data points, external events that have no bearing on the internal truth of your character. Your sense of worth becomes self-generated, rooted in the one thing you truly command, your choice to act with purpose. How much of your energy is spent chasing the applause of others, and what would it feel like to become the sole, satisfied judge of your own virtuous effort? Your character is not built in the grand, dramatic moments alone, but in the quiet, consistent review of every single day. This is the ninth Stoic power, the power of self-examination. The ancient Stoics ended each day not with distraction, but with a deliberate and honest conversation with themselves. They called this practice their evening meditation, a time to hold their own actions up to the clear light of reason. Think of it as an audit of your soul, not to punish yourself, but to learn and refine. Seneca described this ritual in his letters, asking himself 3 simple but piercing questions each night. What wrong did I correct today? What fault did I resist? In what way am I better? This is not about compiling a list of failures. It is a systematic method for growth, a way to ensure you are not repeating the same mistakes year after year, but are instead consciously evolving. How did I react when that driver cut me off? Did I surrender to a flash of anger, or did I practice patience? When my colleague took credit for my idea in the meeting, Did I respond with resentment, or did I act with justice and calmly clarify my contribution? The goal is to see yourself clearly without the filters of ego or excuse. The most powerful tool for this is a simple journal. This is not a diary of events, but a record of your inner world. You write down the challenges you faced and, most importantly, how you met them. You note where your judgment was sound and where it was clouded by passion. You celebrate the small victory of holding your tongue, and you learn from the moment you lost your temper. Over time, this journal becomes a map of your moral progress. You begin to see patterns in your behavior, the specific triggers that pull you away from your best self. You notice that you are most impatient when you are tired, or that you are quick to judge when you feel insecure. This awareness is power. Once you see the pattern, you can anticipate it and prepare for it. You can go into a stressful situation and say to yourself, I know my tendency here is to become defensive, so today I will choose to listen first. This daily practice transforms your life from a series of reactive impulses into a work of intentional art. You are no longer swept along by the current of your habits. You are the one steering the ship, making small, deliberate corrections each night to ensure you stay on your chosen course. What would you discover about your own patterns if you spent just 5 quiet minutes each evening holding your day up to the light? Your evening journal closes, a quiet record of a single day's struggles and triumphs. But what if you could pull back even further, beyond the confines of your own life and into the infinite expanse of the cosmos itself? This is the 10th Stoic power, the power of cosmic perspective, a practice that does not diminish your life, but instead places it within a grand, breathtaking context. The Stoics would regularly contemplate the vastness of the universe and the immense sweep of time. They called this the view from above, and it was their ultimate tool for dissolving anxiety and fostering a profound sense of connection. Think of a single worry that feels overwhelming to you right now. Now, imagine looking down on your city from 1,000 miles high. From there, your problem is invisible. Pull back further to the blue marble of the earth floating in the blackness of space. Your entire life, with all its joys and sorrows, is contained on that tiny sphere. Now consider time. The universe is nearly 14 billion years old. Your life, in comparison, is a brief flash, less than a single heartbeat in the life of a galaxy. Does this make your problems meaningless? Quite the opposite. It makes your opportunity to live with virtue and purpose right now incredibly precious. That difficult conversation, that financial pressure, that personal setback, all of it is happening within your one fleeting moment to act with courage and wisdom. This cosmic view shrinks your ego, not your spirit. The desire for fame becomes absurd when you realize that even the most celebrated names are forgotten by time. The sting of an insult fades when you see the person who delivered it as another tiny, temporary human being, just as flawed and fragile as you are, navigating the same brief journey. You begin to see yourself not as the isolated center of the universe, but as a small, integral part of a vast, interconnected whole. You are a citizen of the cosmos. This realization births a deep and tranquil sense of belonging. Your personal struggles are not unique torments, but part of the universal human experience, shared by every soul that has ever drawn breath under these same stars. This perspective is the ultimate antidote to self-pity and the grandiosity that magnifies every minor inconvenience into a crisis. The next time a problem threatens to consume you, take a mental journey to the stars. Look back at the pale blue dot of Earth and see your own small, brave life upon it. From that distance, what truly matters comes into perfect, quiet focus. How would your most pressing concern change if you saw it not as your solitary burden, but as a single note in the symphony of the cosmos? From the cosmic view, we return to the ground beneath our feet, to the daily friction that truly forges our strength. The 11th Stoic power is the power of equanimity, the cultivation of an even mind. It is the practice of meeting every single event, from a stubbed toe to a financial collapse, with the same unwavering inner calm. The Stoics envisioned the ideal sage as someone whose peace was like the deep ocean, undisturbed by the storms raging on the surface. This is not a cold indifference, but a profound emotional stability that allows you to see things clearly and act wisely, no matter the chaos swirling around you. The secret to building this ocean-like calm lies not in the grand crises, but in your response to the daily, petty annoyances. Each time you choose patience in a long line, each time you shrug off a thoughtless comment, each time you calmly deal with a spilled coffee, you are laying another stone in the foundation of your inner citadel. You are training your nervous system, teaching it that these small shocks do not require a full-scale emotional emergency response. Think of it like building a muscle. You would not try to lift 1,000 pounds on your first day at the gym. You start with a manageable weight, and through consistent repetition, you grow stronger. Your daily irritations are the 5-pound weights for your equanimity. By practicing calm with the person who talks too loudly on the phone, you are preparing yourself for the day you receive truly devastating news. Your composure will not be a fragile act you have to suddenly conjure, but a deep-seated strength you have already built repetition by repetition. When a major life test does arrive, you will not be starting from a place of panic. You will be drawing from a vast reservoir of calm you have filled, drop by drop, through 1,000 small victories over impatience and frustration. Your mind will remain clear, your judgment sound, because you have already faced a lifetime of smaller versions of that storm. How many of your reactions today are quietly building the emotional resilience you will need for tomorrow's greatest challenges? This even mind allows you to see others not as obstacles, but as fellow human beings deserving of fairness. The 12th Stoic power is the power of justice and fair dealing, a virtue that protects your inner peace as much as it guides your interactions. For the Stoics, justice was not just a social contract, it was a personal discipline, a commitment to act with fundamental fairness toward every person you encounter, regardless of how they treat you. When someone wrongs you, your initial, raw impulse might be to retaliate, to make them feel the same sting you feel. You fantasize about the perfect comeback, the subtle revenge, the public exposure of their misdeed. But the Stoic asks a simple, piercing question. Does their unjust act justify you becoming unjust in return? By choosing resentment or revenge, you are not punishing them, you are poisoning yourself. You are allowing their actions to dictate your own character, letting them pull you down into a bitter, chaotic state that is entirely of your own making. You become a mirror of the very injustice you claim to despise. True justice, in the Stoic sense, is an act of self-respect. It is the decision that your inner integrity is too valuable to be traded for the fleeting satisfaction of getting even. Think of a clear, still pond. Someone throws a rock into it, creating ripples and disturbing the mud at the bottom. The unjust person, consumed by the ripples, starts throwing rocks back, churning the water into a permanent murk. The Stoic, committed to justice, allows the ripples from the other person's rock to simply pass. They do not add their own. They focus on letting the sediment settle, restoring clarity to their own waters. This does not mean you become a doormat. Justice requires you to set firm boundaries and to speak truth when necessary. You can confront a person who has wronged you, but you do so with calm clarity, not with venomous anger. Your goal is not to harm them, but to correct the wrong and uphold what is right. The action is the same, but the intention behind it transforms everything. One person can deliver a difficult truth with the purpose of healing, while another delivers the same words with the purpose of destroying. The Stoic always chooses the former. They understand that the other person, in their unjust action, is acting from a place of ignorance, from a mistaken belief that their behavior is somehow good or necessary for them. Seeing this does not excuse their action, but it drains your reaction of its personal venom. It allows you to respond to the error, not to the monster you have built in your mind. When you choose justice over revenge, you reclaim all your power. You remain the author of your own actions, your character unblemished by the chaos around you. Your sense of self-worth becomes untouchable because it is rooted in your own consistent virtue, not in the flawed behavior of others. How much of your mental energy is currently spent keeping score of old wounds, and what would you build with that energy if you simply declared the ledger settled? That unshakable commitment to justice requires a deep reservoir of inner strength. The 13th Stoic power is the power of courage, but this is not the blind bravery of a soldier charging into battle. Stoic courage is a quieter, more resilient force, born from wisdom and rooted in principle. It is the strength to endure what must be endured, to speak when silence is complicity, and to hold your dignity intact even when everything around you is falling apart. The Stoic is courageous not because they feel no fear, but because they have judged that something is more important than fear itself. For them, that something is virtue, the integrity of their own character. This transforms courage from a wild emotion into a deliberate choice. Recklessness ignores danger, while true courage sees the danger clearly, accepts it, and decides to move forward anyway because it is the right thing to do. Think of a whistleblower who exposes corruption in their company. They are undoubtedly afraid. They fear financial ruin, social ostracism, and legal battles. A reckless person might make the revelation for personal glory or out of spite. But the courageous person, the Stoic, acts after careful consideration, weighing the risks and accepting the potential consequences. They move forward not because they are unafraid, but because their commitment to truth and justice is greater than their fear. Their action is measured, principled, and therefore far more powerful. This same courage applies to the internal battles we all face. The courage to sit with grief without being consumed by it. The courage to admit you were wrong. The courage to change course when you realize your path is misguided. It is the fortitude to bear illness with grace or to face financial hardship without surrendering your self-respect. In every case, Stoic courage is the decision to align your actions with your principles regardless of the external cost. It is the inner anchor that holds you fast in any storm, ensuring that you never betray yourself, even when the world seems to demand it. What difficult truth are you currently facing that asks for this quiet, principled form of courage? Courage is the choice to act on principle, but what guides that choice? The 14th Stoic power is the power of wisdom, the essential compass for every difficult decision you will ever face. This is not about accumulating facts or academic knowledge. Stoic wisdom is profoundly practical, the trained ability to see the world clearly and to choose the right action at the right time for the right reason. It is the quality that allows you to navigate a complex argument, a financial dilemma, or a personal betrayal with clarity and effectiveness, untangled from the confusion of raw emotion. The Stoics believed wisdom was the master virtue, the one that directed all the others, because without it, courage becomes recklessness, justice becomes fanaticism, and self-control becomes mere repression. So how do you cultivate this essential skill? It begins with a humble admission that you do not know everything. The pursuit of wisdom is a lifelong apprenticeship, a commitment to learning from every source available. This means studying philosophy, yes, but also history, literature, and science. More importantly, it means studying life itself, paying close attention to the consequences of actions, both your own and those of others. Every mistake, whether yours or someone else's, becomes a vital data point. That friend's impulsive investment that led to financial strain, that colleague's harsh words that destroyed a partnership, these are not just gossip, they are live case studies in cause and effect. You are building a mental library of how the world actually works, not how you wish it would work. This library of experience allows you to move beyond reacting to situations based on how they feel, and instead to respond based on a deep understanding of their likely outcomes. When a conflict arises at work, a person lacking wisdom might react with immediate defensiveness or anger, seeing only the personal insult. A wise person, drawing on their understanding of human nature and workplace dynamics, might pause. They see the same insult, but they also see the underlying insecurity or pressure that likely caused it. They consider the long-term goal of a functional team. Their response is then not a raw emotional discharge, but a strategic choice, perhaps to de-escalate in the moment and address the root cause in a private conversation later. Wisdom transforms the chaotic mess of a problem into a series of manageable, logical steps. It asks the clarifying questions that others overlook. Not just what did they do to me, but why might they have done it? Not just what do I want right now, but what is the principled thing to do here? Not just what is the easiest path, but what action will I be able to look back on with respect? This is the quiet work of good judgment, a muscle strengthened daily through reflection and a sincere desire to see things as they are. Your life becomes less about winning and losing, and more about navigating each challenge with a clear-eyed grace that leaves no room for future regret. What difficult decision in your own life could be transformed by applying this calm, discerning light of wisdom? Wisdom shows you the right path, but it is temperance that gives you the strength to walk it without being pulled into the ditch on either side. This 15th Stoic power is the disciplined art of moderation, the quiet mastery over your own desires and appetites. The Stoics saw pleasure and pain as two sides of the same dangerous coin, both capable of hijacking your reason if you give them too much weight. Temperance is not about rejecting enjoyment, but about ensuring you remain the one in charge. It is the decision that no single sensation, no matter how intense, will be allowed to dictate your actions or disturb your inner peace. Think of a rich, decadent dessert. There is a world of difference between savoring a few bites with full presence and gratitude, and consuming the entire thing in a frantic, almost desperate rush. The first is an experience you enjoy. The second is an experience that enjoys you. You have become a passive vessel for a pleasure that now controls you. This is the subtle trap temperance helps you avoid. It applies to every facet of life, from the food you eat and the money you spend to the entertainment you consume and the emotions you express. An intemperate person, ruled by their cravings, lives on a roller coaster. The thrill of a new purchase is followed by the anxiety of debt. The high of social media validation is followed by the crash of comparing yourself to others. Their inner world is a turbulent sea, constantly churned by the winds of external stimulation. The temperate person, by contrast, cultivates a still lake. They can enjoy a good meal without needing a feast. They can appreciate a compliment without becoming dependent on it. They can feel anger without letting it erupt into a destructive outburst. By practicing moderation, you are not depriving yourself. You are making a strategic withdrawal from the exhausting chase of more, louder, faster. You are declaring that your happiness is an internal state, not an external trophy to be hunted. This creates a profound and unshakable stability. When you are no longer jerked around by every passing desire, you discover a new kind of freedom, the freedom to choose your response from a place of calm abundance, not frantic need. How many of your daily struggles are simply a battle between what you truly want for your life and a momentary craving that wants to control it? Temperance builds your inner stability, but the world outside remains wildly unpredictable. The 16th Stoic power is the power of adaptability, the art of becoming like water in your approach to life's constant changes. The Stoics saw rigidity as a form of weakness, a brittle resistance to the fundamental nature of a universe in perpetual flux. Your plans will be disrupted, your expectations will be unmet, and obstacles you never imagined will appear in your path. Fighting this reality is like a river trying to flow uphill. It is an exhausting and futile struggle against the very terrain of existence. Adaptability is the decision to flow with the terrain instead. It is the mental and emotional flexibility to reassess, to pivot, and to find a new way forward when the old one is blocked. This is not surrender, it is a more intelligent form of persistence. Think of a tree in a storm. A rigid, ancient oak might stand firm against the wind until its trunk splinters. A young, flexible willow, however, bends and sways with the gust, its branches whipping in the air but its roots holding fast. When the storm passes, the oak is broken, while the willow is still standing, ready to grow again. Your goal is not to be the unbending oak, but the resilient willow. You hold fast to your core principles, your inner integrity, but you remain supple in your methods. When a project at work is suddenly cancelled, the rigid person falls into despair, clinging to the lost effort and the failed outcome. The adaptable person takes a deep breath, accepts the new reality, and asks a simple, powerful question. What can I salvage from this? What new opportunity does this unexpected opening create? They might repurpose the research for a different client or use the freed-up time to develop a new skill. The setback is the same, but one person sees a dead end while the other sees a detour. This requires a creative mind, one that is not attached to a single, narrow vision of success. It is the difference between a sculptor who demands a specific block of marble and one who walks into a quarry, sees the available stone, and imagines what beautiful form could be hidden within its unique shape. Life is that quarry. You are given certain materials, certain conditions, certain limitations. The adaptable person works with what is there, chipping away not in frustration, but with curiosity and vision. They do not waste energy complaining that the stone is not different. They pour their energy into the art of the possible. This fluidity makes you virtually unstoppable because you are no longer relying on a perfect world to achieve your goals. You are building a self that can find a path or even create one through any landscape. How many of the roadblocks in your life are only solid because you have not yet tried to flow around them? Flowing like water through an ever-changing world requires a deep, steady current of appreciation for the life you are already living. This is the 17th Stoic power, the power of gratitude. While modern culture often treats gratitude as a fleeting feeling or a polite sentiment, the Stoics saw it as a disciplined practice, a fundamental reorientation of your entire perspective. It is the conscious decision to focus not on what you lack, but on the abundance that is already present. Envy, disappointment, and a sense of entitlement are all fires that are fed by the fuel of wanting more. Gratitude is the water that extinguishes those fires before they can ever spread. Each morning, before your feet even touch the floor, you can perform a simple but profound ritual. Instead of mentally scrolling through your list of worries and obligations, pause for just one breath. Acknowledge the simple, staggering fact that you are alive. You have been given another day. You have a roof, however humble, over your head. You have access to clean water. These are not small things. They are the very foundation of existence, and they are gifts that millions of people do not possess in this moment. By starting your day with this recognition, you build a baseline of contentment that external events cannot easily shake. When you truly internalize the gift of your morning coffee, the warmth of the sun on your skin, or the sound of a loved one's voice, you are making a declaration of independence from fortune's whims. You are saying, my happiness is not contingent on my next raise or my next purchase. It is rooted right here, in this cup, in this ray of light, in this conversation. This practice systematically dismantles the entitlement mentality, the quiet but corrosive belief that you deserve only good things and that any hardship is a personal offense from the universe. The Stoic knows that nothing is guaranteed. Everything is on loan. Your health, your relationships, your possessions, all of it can be taken back in an instant. This is not a morbid thought. It is the very insight that makes gratitude so fierce and joyful. You do not take the functioning of your body for granted. You feel a surge of thanks for the simple ability to walk across a room without pain. You do not take your friendships for granted. You feel a deep appreciation for a single text message from a friend, knowing that their time and attention are precious gifts. This constant, active appreciation acts as a shield. When you see a colleague get the promotion you wanted, the default reaction of envy has no room to grow because your mind is already full of gratitude for the job that currently sustains you. When a plan falls apart, the sting of disappointment is lessened because you are still anchored in gratitude for the countless other things that are still going right. Your peace is no longer a fragile object that can be broken by a single piece of bad news. It becomes a resilient field cultivated daily by your own grateful attention. What simple, ordinary blessing in your life right now, if you lost it tomorrow, would you give anything to have back? That is the very thing to be grateful for today. Gratitude quiets the wanting mind, creating a space of rich contentment. It is in this very quiet that another profound power emerges, the 18th Stoic power, the power of silence and listening. In a world that constantly demands your opinion and rewards the loudest voice, the Stoics made a radical choice. They practiced the discipline of saying less and hearing more. Epictetus, a teacher who understood the damage careless words could cause, offered a simple but life-changing rule. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. This is not about being shy or withholding your truth. It is a strategic form of self-defense and a tool for deeper understanding. Every time you choose to listen fully before you speak, you are gathering intelligence. You are learning about the other person's fears, their desires, their unspoken assumptions. You are discovering the real terrain of the conversation, which is often hidden beneath the surface of their words. Think of a difficult discussion with a loved one. Your initial impulse might be to interrupt, to correct, to defend your position the moment you feel attacked. But in doing so, you are not listening to understand, you are only listening to reload. You are preparing your counter-argument while they are still speaking, and in the process you miss everything. The slight tremble in their voice that signals hurt, not anger. The specific word they keep repeating that reveals their core fear. When you instead commit to silence, to truly receiving their words without immediate reaction, you give yourself a monumental advantage. You see the root of the conflict, not just the branches. This practice prevents a staggering amount of unnecessary conflict. So many arguments escalate simply because neither person feels heard. By being the first to truly listen, you disarm the dynamic. You drain the tension from the room. The other person, feeling heard and less defensive, often becomes more reasonable in return. Your silence is not a vacuum. It is an act of profound strength that creates the conditions for resolution. And when it is finally your turn to speak, your words will be different. They will not be a reactive volley of emotion, but a measured, thoughtful response that addresses the actual heart of the matter. You can affirm what you heard them say, which alone can be transformative, and then offer your perspective with a clarity that would have been impossible amidst the noise of your own defensiveness. In that pause between their words and yours, in the fertile ground of silence, wisdom has the space to grow. How many of your past conflicts could have been transformed by a few more moments of truly receptive silence? That profound silence, that space for listening, brings a stark clarity to the most important conversation you will ever have, the one about the finite nature of your own life. The 19th Stoic power is the power of memento mori, the disciplined remembrance that you will die. This is not a morbid fixation, but a vibrant tool for creating a life of fierce intention and zero regret. The Stoics did not whisper about death in the shadows. They placed a skull on their dinner table as a direct physical reminder to live while they were still alive. They understood that the awareness of your ending is the very thing that gives your present its weight and its beauty. Imagine holding a fragile, exquisite glass sculpture. If you believed it was unbreakable, you might handle it carelessly, leaving it on a cluttered shelf to gather dust. But if you knew it could shatter at any moment, you would cradle it with attention, you would keep it clean, you would place it where you could see its light catch the sun every single day. Your life is that glass sculpture. Memento mori is the practice of remembering its fragility, so you stop leaving it on the shelf. This practice systematically cuts through the trivial. When you are arguing with a loved one over something minor, the thought, "this could be our last conversation," does not make the argument more dramatic. It makes it feel absurd. You are suddenly aware of the preciousness of the person in front of you, and the petty grievance loses all its power. You choose connection over being right. When you are procrastinating on a dream, the thought, "my time is limited and I do not know the number of my days," acts as a gentle but firm push. It transforms a vague someday into a decisive today. This is not about living in a state of fear, but in a state of urgent appreciation. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." He was not being grim, he was establishing the ultimate priority filter. That email you are stressing over, that social obligation you dread, that project you are avoiding, when viewed through the lens of your mortality, is instantly sorted into one of two categories: something that truly matters to a life well lived, or something that is merely noise. Memento mori is the ultimate decluttering tool for your soul. It strips away the non-essential and leaves behind only what is real: your love for your family, your commitment to your work, your gratitude for the sunrise, your desire to grow. By keeping the end in mind, you are not preparing to die. You are finally learning how to live fully and without apology, in the only time you are ever guaranteed, which is right now. What would you stop doing immediately, and what would you start if you carried the quiet certainty of your own mortality in your heart today? Memento mori clarifies what truly matters, but what if you could go beyond mere acceptance and actually love the very obstacles in your path? This is the 20th Stoic power, the power of amor fati, a Latin phrase that translates to a love of one's fate. It is the ultimate evolution of acceptance, a radical embrace of every single event, every twist and turn, as not just something to be endured, but as something necessary and beneficial for your life. The German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, who was deeply influenced by the Stoics, later captured this idea perfectly when he wrote, "My formula for greatness in a human being is amor fati, that one wants nothing to be different, not forward, not backward, not in all eternity." This is not about being a passive spectator to your own life. It is about becoming its active, joyful author, no matter the plot twists. Think of a master blacksmith working a piece of iron. The blacksmith does not curse the fire for being hot or the hammer for striking. He sees the fire and the hammer as essential, indispensable partners in the act of creation. Without their intense, even violent application, the raw metal would never be transformed into a strong, sharp, and useful blade. Amor fati is the decision to see your own life through the eyes of that blacksmith. Every hardship, every setback, every moment of pain is the fire and the hammer. It is the very force that is tempering you, strengthening your character, and forging you into a more resilient, capable, and wise human being. When you lose a job you thought was secure, instead of falling into despair, you can learn to love the event for the freedom it forces upon you, for the push it gives you to explore new paths you might have never considered. When you face a difficult illness, you can learn to love the profound lessons it teaches about the fragility of the body and the incredible strength of the human spirit. This mindset transforms suffering from a meaningless punishment into a purposeful training ground. The obstacle is no longer in the way, it is the way. This is the secret to building a resilience that feels almost supernatural. Most people see a setback and think, "Why is this happening to me?" Their energy is consumed in resistance and self-pity. The practitioner of amor fati sees the same setback and asks, "What is this teaching me? How is this preparing me for what is next?" Their energy is channeled into growth and opportunity. You begin to see your entire life, with all its so-called good and bad fortune, as a perfectly crafted curriculum for your soul. The pleasant times are the lessons in gratitude and enjoyment. The difficult times are the advanced seminars in courage, patience, and perseverance. Nothing is wasted. Every single experience is woven into the fabric of your strength. To love your fate is to declare that you trust the process of your own life, even when you cannot see the final design. It is the ultimate act of faith in your own capacity to grow from anything you encounter. How would the weight of your greatest challenge lift if you stopped seeing it as a curse and started greeting it as the most demanding but most valuable teacher you have ever had? That profound love for your fate frees you from needing a complicated life to be happy. The 21st Stoic power is the power of simplicity, a conscious choice to strip away the non-essential so you can focus on what truly gives life meaning. The Stoics were not ascetics who rejected all possessions, but they understood a fundamental truth that every unnecessary thing you own, every commitment you make, and every distraction you entertain is a chain that binds your attention and drains your mental energy. Seneca wrote extensively about the burden of wealth, not because money itself was evil, but because the pursuit and maintenance of it so often comes at the cost of your peace and freedom. Imagine your mind as a clear, still pond. Each new possession, each subscription, each social obligation, each push notification is a pebble tossed into that water. A few pebbles create small, manageable ripples, but a modern life is like a constant hailstorm of pebbles, churning the water into a murky, turbulent mess where you can no longer see your own reflection. The practice of simplicity is the decision to stop the hailstorm. It is the deliberate process of wading into the pond and removing the pebbles one by one until the water settles and becomes clear again. This clarity is not just peaceful, it is powerful. With a mind free from clutter, your judgment becomes sharp, your decisions become decisive, and your focus becomes laser-like. You are no longer pulled in 10 directions by the demands of your stuff and your schedule. You discover that you have far more time and energy than you ever realized because you are no longer wasting it on managing complexity. This creates a formidable resistance to the pressures of consumerism. Advertising loses its power over you when you realize it is not selling you a product, it is selling you a problem you did not know you had, and then offering a solution that will only lead to the next problem. The Stoics sees through this cycle. They understand that the desire for a newer car or a more fashionable phone is not a genuine need but a manufactured anxiety, a ghost of a want that can never be satisfied. By choosing a simple life, you are not settling for less, you are declaring independence from this entire game. Your sense of worth is no longer tied to the labels in your closet or the model of your phone. It is rooted in the unshakable quality of your character and the depth of your inner life. This is the ultimate freedom, the liberty to define your own success, to find joy in a walk in the woods, a conversation with a friend, or the quiet satisfaction of a job well done. How many of the things you currently worry about are merely pebbles you have been taught to throw into your own pond? Simplicity clears the waters of your mind, but the world will still test your calm with its maddening delays and difficult people. The 22nd Stoic power is the power of patience, a quiet strength that understands the natural pace of things cannot be rushed without cost. This is not passive waiting, but an active, intelligent endurance. It is the decision to work with time rather than fight against it, recognizing that forcing a solution often creates a bigger problem than the one you started with. Think of a gardener who plants a seed and then digs it up every day to check on its progress. His frantic impatience does not help the seed grow, it kills it. The wise gardener understands the process is underground and invisible. His job is to provide water and sunlight, then trust the natural timeline. Your goals, your relationships, your personal growth, they all operate on this same principle. Impatience is the emotional equivalent of digging up the seed. You demand immediate results from a new diet, instant mastery of a new skill, or a sudden transformation in a difficult person's character. When reality refuses to comply, you feel frustrated, angry, and defeated. Stoic patience asks you to shift your focus from the outcome you cannot control to the process you can. Your only task is to tend the garden, to take the right actions consistently. The harvest will come in its own time, or it may not, but your peace is not dependent on it. This is especially vital when dealing with people who try your patience. The Stoics understood that others act according to their own nature and their own flawed reasoning. To expect a chronically late person to be punctual or a negative person to be optimistic is like expecting an apple tree to bear oranges. You are fighting their nature and you will always lose. Patience here means accepting their nature as a fact of the landscape, like a rock in a field. You do not waste energy yelling at the rock to move. You simply plan your path around it. This does not mean you tolerate abuse. It means you stop being surprised and frustrated by predictable behavior. You set your boundaries calmly and enforce them consistently without the inner turmoil of expecting them to be different. This calm acceptance is not a weakness, it is a strategic advantage. It allows you to think clearly and act effectively over the long term, rather than reacting with impulsive anger that only makes the situation worse. Your patience in the face of another's chaos becomes your most formidable form of control. How many of your daily frustrations are simply a quarrel with the unchangeable rhythm of time and human nature? Patience with others requires a deep and genuine understanding of your own limitations. The 23rd Stoic power is the power of humility, a quiet recognition of your small but significant place in the vast cosmos. This is not about self-deprecation or thinking less of yourself, but about thinking of yourself less, freeing your mind from the exhausting burden of arrogance and ego. The Stoics constantly reminded themselves of the grand scale of the universe and the countless brilliant minds that came before them. Marcus Aurelius would write to himself, "Alexander the Great and his mule driver both died and ended up in the same place." This was not a cynical thought, it was a grounding one, a tool to cut through any sense of self-importance. When you truly grasp that you are a fleeting participant in an ancient, ongoing story, the need to prove your superiority or defend your status simply evaporates. Your mistakes are no longer catastrophic personal failures, but simply part of the human journey, opportunities to learn and correct your course. This humble posture is the very foundation of a learning mindset. An arrogant person believes they already have all the answers, so their mind is a closed door, impervious to new information or constructive criticism. A humble person, aware of the vastness of what they do not know, keeps their mind an open window, allowing the fresh air of new perspectives to flow in constantly. Think of a leader who cannot admit a mistake. Their team quickly learns to hide problems and avoid giving honest feedback, leading to fragile, dysfunctional projects built on a foundation of concealed flaws. Now think of a leader who openly says, "I was wrong about that approach, thank you for pointing it out." This act of humility does not diminish their authority, it solidifies it. It creates an environment of psychological safety where everyone feels empowered to contribute their best ideas and identify risks without fear. This makes the humble leader infinitely more effective and approachable because their team is united in a shared pursuit of truth and excellence, not in the silent service of one person's fragile ego. Humility is the quiet strength that allows you to see the world clearly, to learn from everyone and everything, and to lead not from a pedestal, but from alongside others on the same path of growth. Your strength is not a solitary fortress, but a network of bridges. The 24th Stoic power is the power of community, a profound recognition that we are fundamentally social beings designed for connection and mutual aid. The Stoics saw the entire human race as a single body, where an injury to one part is felt by the whole. To live a good life, therefore, is to live a life of service, to contribute your unique strengths to the well-being of your fellow humans. This is not a burdensome duty, but the very source of your most resilient strength and deepest meaning. When you are consumed by your own problems, your world shrinks to a tiny, suffocating room. Every minor setback echoes loudly, and your pain feels uniquely isolating. But the moment you turn your attention outward to supporting a friend in need or volunteering for a cause larger than yourself, a window opens in that room. Your personal challenges are put into perspective, not diminished, but placed within the grand, shared tapestry of the human experience. You realize your struggles are not yours alone to bear. Think of a time you offered a listening ear to someone going through a hard time. In that act of giving, you likely forgot your own anxieties for a while. You felt a sense of purpose and connection that lifted your own spirits. This is the beautiful paradox of community, that by giving support, you receive it. Your own burdens feel lighter when you are carrying a small part of someone else's. During a personal crisis, it is this network that becomes your anchor. A Stoic does not suffer in proud, silent isolation. They reach out not to complain, but to connect and contribute even from a place of pain. Sharing your struggle with a trusted friend is not a sign of weakness, it is an act of trust that honors your shared humanity. It allows others the opportunity to practice their own virtues of compassion and loyalty. And in allowing yourself to be supported, you are giving them a gift as well, the gift of being needed, of being useful. This creates a resilient ecosystem of care where everyone is both a pillar and is held up by pillars. Your individual peace is reinforced by the collective strength of your community, making you far more resistant to life's inevitable shocks than you could ever be alone. How much of your current stress could be transformed by simply sharing its weight, or by lifting a small part of someone else's? That final power, the power of community, completes the circle. It reminds you that your strength is not for you alone, but for the world you inhabit. And the tool for channeling all 24 of these powers into a single, unbreakable life is the 25th and final one, the power of continuous practice. Stoicism was never meant to be a philosophy you simply read about and admire. It was designed as a practical discipline, a daily workout for your soul. The true transformation does not happen when you understand a concept intellectually, but when you've repeated the action so many times that it becomes an instinct, a part of your very character. Think of an archer practicing their shot. They do not shoot one perfect arrow and then consider themselves a master. They stand at the range day after day, in sun and rain, firing thousands of arrows. Most will miss the exact center of the target. Each miss is not a failure, but feedback. The wind was strong, my grip was tense, my release was early. The archer adjusts, learns, and shoots again. This is the essence of continuous practice in Stoicism. Your daily life is the archery range. Every irritation is an arrow. Every difficult conversation is an arrow. Every moment of fear or desire is an arrow. You will not always hit the bullseye of perfect virtue. You will lose your temper. You will succumb to anxiety. You will act out of pride. This is not a sign that the philosophy has failed. It is the practice itself. The goal is not perfection, but progression. Each time you reflect in your evening journal and identify where your judgment was clouded, you are adjusting your aim. Each morning when you premeditate on the day's challenges, you are strengthening your focus. Each time you choose patience over irritation or courage over comfort, you are firing another arrow, building the muscle memory of wisdom. Over weeks, months, and years, this relentless repetition forges your character. What began as a conscious effort, a line you had to recall from Marcus Aurelius in a moment of stress, becomes an unconscious competence. You no longer have to stop and ask, what would a Stoic do? You simply act with a calm clarity that surprises even you. The principles have been woven into the fabric of your being. They are no longer ideas you hold, they are the person you have become. This is the ultimate reward of continuous practice, a life where resilience, peace, and purpose are not something you have to find, but something you naturally express in everything you do. Your practice is the quiet, steady hand that draws the bow, sending your life flying again and again toward its truest aim. These 25 powers are not separate tools, but a single, interlocking system for living. Your perception dictates your acceptance. Your acceptance allows for emotional regulation, and that regulation is strengthened by the daily disciplines of discomfort and self-examination. This inner work then flows outward as purposeful action, justice, and a deep connection to your community. Each power reinforces the others, building an inner citadel so resilient that life's tests no longer break you, they reveal your strength. This is the ultimate promise of Stoicism, not a life without challenges, but a life where every challenge is met with profound calm and unwavering clarity. It is a practical toolkit forged in ancient times but perfectly suited for the relentless pace of modern life, from the ping of a stressful notification to the profound grief of a personal loss. You do not need to master all 25 powers at once. The entire philosophy is built on the principle of continuous practice. Begin with just one. Perhaps today you choose the power of perception, and the next time you feel that knot of anxiety, you simply ask, is this within my control? Or maybe you will try the power of gratitude, taking one quiet moment this evening to acknowledge a single blessing you usually overlook. The choice of where to start is yours, and the journey begins with a single, deliberate step. We would love to hear which of these 25 powers resonated most deeply with you. Share your thoughts in the comments below and let us know which one you will be practicing first.